Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to me, your host, Christian Watson. So, my friends, I'm about to do it again, but this is a conversation that needs to happen. You see what's on the other side of my screen here? This is a conversation that needs to happen. I've been thinking recently that amid all of my criticisms of Black Lives Matter, that it destroys individuality, that it oversimplifies the causes for very complex and socially rooted issues, that it presents a very particular narrative about the being of African Americans, which is a part of destroying individuality, but it's a little bit more in depth than that. That it uses rage as a political instrument rather than actually trying to pensively and rationally think things out, or that in its desire to be pensive and rational, it confines its rationality between the parameters of their ideology. So they're not really thinking outside of the box. They are inside of the box. So much so that they may be the box itself. Amid my many criticisms of Black Lives Matter, there is not a single one that captures the extent to which Black Lives Matter misses the message. Life, my friends, is a very, very concrete thing. Now, things that happen in our lives can sometimes feel non-concrete. Emotions, how we feel, how we interact with certain systems of being. I mean, there are a lot of things in our lives that can feel not so concrete and not so in our grasp. That happens all the damn time. You know, as someone who himself suffers, and I'll be honest with you guys, I mean, I promised you, when I made this channel, I promised you I'd do this. As someone from himself who suffers from emotional trouble, such as depression, there have been things in my life that have just felt so beyond my control, just so beyond my comprehension. But there's one thing that anchors me to this earth, the fact that I am a human being. I am a beautiful human being. And the notion of the human being is talked about in a very insular way with the Black Lives Matter debate. But more so than anything else, Black Lives Matter, the name itself, creates an abstraction of who you are and doesn't really pay attention to the whole of who you are. So this is not the same thing as destroying your individuality, because you can have an abstract individual. In fact, there are plenty of abstract individuals. St. Augustine said in chapter 28 of the City of God, that there is a city of man and there's a city of God, and that in the city of men there are people who are self-interested and therefore they get away from God. In the city of God, our interest goes entirely towards Christ. So for St. Augustine, there's something about having that sense of individuality on an abstract level that destroys you in your spiritual journey and your material journey. Obviously, Black Lives Matter is not doing the same thing that Augustine is doing, but they are abstracting who you are. The problem is, my friends, abstractions don't do us much good if they cannot tell us very much about what's happening in reality. Right? Ayn Rand said that the reason we don't do lifeboat ethics, we don't have these sort of alien concepts that help us understand ethics, is because if something is alien to reality, it cannot show us or tell us how to act better in reality. What Black Lives Matter does, my friends, is it takes the abstraction of the black individual, puts it up in the heavens, dresses it up in all kind of garb, and the garb shall, for the purposes of this illustration, shall stand for all the baggage that black individuals, according to Black Lives Matter and according to proponents of critical race theory, supposedly carry. The baggage of redlining, the baggage of commodification, the baggage of supposedly being prejudiced against, all this baggage. So they create this individual, put this garb on it with all this baggage, and that presents an image to people. It presents an image of a black person. And this image is almost universal across every utterance of what they say a black person is. So even in the local Black Lives Matter, guys, you're not ready for this one. You're not ready for this one, man. Because the arguments are always, it kills individuality, which it does. I am a strict Emersonian individualist. I believe the individual is the most valuable quantity in the world, period. Now, there are things beyond us. There are things outside of ourselves that matter, but we should be the primary social consideration because reality is constituted of us. So don't worry. I am with you on those arguments, my friends. I'm with you on that. I love you for that. But it's not just about our individual selves. It's about our perceived selves too. So they have this individual up here in the heavens, being constructed from all this pretension, being constructed from all this false knowledge. And what that does, it takes away from the message of Black Lives Matter, that there are real black lives in reality being hurt or whatever, which I don't really agree with, but that's beside the point. It takes away from that message. And it presents a singular solution for the abstract being that's been created. Now, abstractions can be fine sometimes. I do say, look, I am a libertarian. Liberty is an axiom by which we live our lives that animates our being. That's an abstraction a little bit, but I'm bringing it down to reality. They abstract it. And then, funny enough, they take the rules of abstraction and they use those rules of abstraction to influence what happens in reality. So that black individual that's abstracted up there, that individual is weighed against every single thing. It's weighed against claims of racism, claims of being underprivileged, claims of being undereducated, claims of being discriminated against. That's the individual they're looking at, that black individual. And all that means is that they presume a certain kind of thing, a certain kind of person can fill in and exist for the fates and for the destinies of many African Americans. They presume, okay, Black Lives Matter because the police hate us, this and that. That's the abstraction they're talking about. So it takes us away from the real material black people, which never allows us to reach the conclusion that all men are individuals, and all men are free, and all men have a destiny that's enshrined into their hearts that has nothing to do with their complexion and everything to do with their spiritual efforts. Spiritual, my friends, I'm preaching to you guys right now. Spiritual simply means that which I cannot apprehend immediately by my senses. That which transcends the sort of positivism, the sort of empiricism, and all that means is what I can see and detect immediately. There are things, even if you are non-religious, that transcend that. You don't have to believe in God to believe what I'm talking to you right now. So here's what I say, my friends. Instead of address the abstraction that does not relate to you, here's what I say. Instead of saying Black Lives Matter or All Lives Matter, both of which are equally abstractions, I say your life matters. Your life matters. Who you are as a flesh and blood human being who has bequeathed upon them the faculties of rationality, your life matters. Who you are as someone who can operate in this world as a rational actor and who can make decisions about their destiny and themselves, your life matters. Who you are at a fundamental level, at a metaphysical level, your life matters. You have value. You have a fundamental quantity within you that gives you value. There'll be folks that say, well, Christian, how can we detect if value is intrinsic? Value is intrinsic. Guess what? We can access value. We can access it as human beings because we have the ability to think our way through things. That in itself is a valuable faculty. And there may be some that say, oh, Christian, you're being surface level. No. I'm trying to get you down to a certain place right now. The river is beaming. It's beaming with life. But we're so busy looking at the street. Black Lives Matter is so busy looking at the street that it can't even focus on the river. The street represents all of the stuff that is being said about the condition of Black America. The river is that substance which actually lives. That substance that I can actually get into. I can get something from. I can get nourishment from the river. I can't get nourishment from the street, my friends. And the river would reveal it to you. Because the river is life. The street is construction. The river is life. They've constructed all these ideas. But if I go down to the river, I can take the water and put it against my face. I can take the water and drink it. And it can course through my veins, course through my body. Here's what I'm saying. We have to look at life and look at our lives instead of looking at the streets and thinking that the streets are our lives. We have to have a mixture of the wilderness and the city if we're going to be a complete person. Your life matters. Your life matters. Your life matters. This may seem hand-wavy, but let's not be abstract. I can go down to the river, I can get nourishment from that. The city can probably provide me nourishment, but the river doesn't provide me anything. The river is not an active entity that lives. There are things that live in the river, but me going onto the river, the metaphorical significance of that is me having to pick up the water, having to fish out the fish, having to go down the water on my own craft. That's what the river represents, my friends. So my question is this: are you going to go down to the riverside and understand that you have value, and that all this stuff that is constructed, this abstraction of the black individual, is not who you are because your life is so complex and varied? Or are you going to stay in the city, in the streets, and let those cars just pass you by and think that reality is simply the composite sum of how we see the streets? I know what I'm going to do. I hope you do the same. Think on it. As always, my friends, if you love me and you like this message, like, subscribe, share, comment, and also donate to me on Patreon, patreon.com/AfilCWatson. I love all of you. Please, 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 for the love of God, stay pensive. Bye-bye, guys.